Hey, so good afternoon or evening or morning. This is going to be an interesting stream. Why is this going to be an interesting stream? Well, if you've been in the forums yet, or you saw what we talked or listened last week to what we talked about, well, there's a lot to talk about. So, as always, are we good? Say something, JB, so they know
Hi.
you're alive. Hey,
I'm
there we
here.
go.
Sound and video okay.
I'm here to talk about the interesting stuff later.
So, where do we start? Let's start with the top 10-ish instead of talking about the other thing, because the other thing is going to take a whole lot of time. And of course, that other thing is the document, which is now on our forums, up on our website in English. The other translations are coming. We'll have them up as soon as we get them. And that, of course, is, again, grouping, orders, warbands, battle groups,
campaigns, social systems, friends lists,
all that enemies list too.
Enemy list.
Don't forget the enemy list.
and connections list,
And that too.
which is also a new thing.
Lots of stuff. But let's talk about the top 10-ish, which I think this may be the longest top 10-ish. I do apologize. I do apologize for it. I didn't actually see it until about a minute and a half ago, because I was answering questions from Bree over at Massively, and boy, did she have a lot of questions on these systems. So let's get started. Number 1, siege battles. So, like we've said from the beginning, our engine is designed for large-scale battles. We've also said that we're in the middle of a sprint, and that sprint is focused on siege battles. So, design, tech, all moving forward. So far, absolutely nothing to complain about. Number 2, NPCs. So we finished the first pass, or about to finish the first pass on functionality. Now, what does this mean? It means that NPCs can start to have behaviors. And behaviors such as, getting behind a siege weapon, aiming it, and shooting it at a target. So that's going to be obviously real helpful to us, while we're developing the game, and can also be used by you folks. For example, guards might actually be kind of helpful, and setting off defensive systems and doing all the things that not only players will be able to do, but the guards to protect your homes, your keeps, etc. So, first pass is in. Almost in. Next up, Dev UI. Hey, why don't you talk about this one? You wrote it.
So, the Dev UI is a very quick, small UI that I put together for the other gameplay developers to create interfaces to get them into the game without requiring myself or AJ, the UI programmers, to put things into the game. That way, they can develop gameplay systems and get some kind of user feedback in the game without having to actually get a full-fledged UI out, because that does take time. Quite a bit of time, usually.
So this is sorry, go ahead.
Nope.
So this is another one of the time savers that in the beginning you make an investment in, and then is quite useful over the course of the development of this and other games. Next up, progression. So number 4. Obviously, you guys and gals all know about our daily progression reward system, and Christina keeps making progress on that. Even now, things like blocks built, blocks destroyed, things like that. Everything you do in this game has to feed into the daily rewards. That's the point. That's the only way the system works. And, for Beta 1, as we've said before, we're going to have first pass at that, and this is a step in that direction. Number 5, starting ability support. So, going into an SNS, I can just said that. Going into a siege, going into a battle, going into what is going to be fun, would be a lot less fun if you had to create all of the abilities from scratch every single time we have a test, especially since we're going to wipe a lot. So now we are building the ability to, have abilities right from the beginning. So when we say, hey, impromptu test, jump in and play some things and beat on some things and kill some things and watch things hopefully fall down, people won't be going, okay, I've done this now 50 times in the last 2 weeks. I'm really having fun. Yeah, that's kind of dumb, so we're going to make things easier.
And
so,
much less groaning from the programmers when we have to character wipe.
Yeah, that's
and
true,
remake
too.
our stuff.
Yeah, that's true, yeah. Especially, yeah. See, that's one of the keys. If the programmers don't want to do something because it's a pain in the ass, they can help find a way so they don't have to do it.
Yep.
And
we're good at that.
Very good at that. And so this is one of the things. Next up, emotes. So now you can actually use hey/wave to have your character wave. Yeah, one of these small steps for man, giant leaps for mankind sort of things. Because now the emotes are starting to come in. It means more emotes can come in. And then as we put in more and more emotes, obviously we'll find problems with the system. Brad actually talked about that, today in our stand-ups. And so, this is one of those things we need for a real live grown-up, game. And so, yeah, more progress. Number 7, social group design. So this has been fun, hasn't it, JB?
Oh, so much fun.
So much fun.
Exciting.
Exciting, yeah. So, many months ago, many months ago, JB and I embarked on taking, the core document or the core thoughts about a grouping system that I put together and then turning into something, much more expansive, much more interesting. Something for, gamers today and gamers tomorrow. And so JB has been writing, which is not something normally programmers, love to do with words. Much better when words in code as opposed to words in prose. And he wrote this really long document with so many good ideas. That's the thing that we've been talking about for weeks and certainly hinting at before then. That is now up on the website. That is now in our forums. When you go there, if you haven't yet, I think what you're going to see is the amount of thought that, we all put into this. And, it wasn't just me, it wasn't just JB, it was Ben, it was other people we were talking to as well. We might have done the heavy lifting, but like everything else at CSE, we get help from other people as well. And now it's your turn. Isn't it great? We can make them work.
Yeah.
Now it's your turn, folks. We're going to be sending out. So this is one of the things that we are actually, believe it or not, going to start using surveys for again. So we need your guys' feedback on this. One of the things that people always worried about with our Kickstarter, other Kickstarters, even games that weren't Kickstarted, is the amount of impact people from, forums might have on the game's development. And that's always been a fear. I can't even tell you how many times people have asked me, in QA and other places, I'm worried about the guys in the forums, dictating the course of the game. And I usually have 2 answers to that. One is, well, you can always join them. But the second and more appropriate one is that we treat forum feedback like we treat feedback from anyone else. It is not something that we look at and go, oh, gee, this means we must do something right now, because as much as we love our forum goers, almost all of them, and yes, we even love the ones we don't always like so much, we know there are more of you out there, like a whole lot more, like tens of thousands more. And so we're going to want more. We're going to want you folks to give us feedback. That's where surveys come in. That's where these docs come in. So what you're going to see is the first pass at some really clever ideas from JB, and I hope some, not, dumb ones from me as well. And we're going to want your feedback on that. I think that what we've created is one of the more interesting, rich, and useful systems for grouping, for social systems, etc., that I've seen in an MMO. And the reason JB is here is because during the Q&A, he's get to talk about almost everything. And I'm going to sit here and watch him, because he's been sitting there watching me on the screen so many times and occasionally commenting. Now I get to sit back and watch him speak. So, really excited. Go to the website or go to the forums. So much to talk about. Number 8, updated archery animations. So, yeah, look, we've been saying this as well for a number of weeks. We're getting close to being able to deliver that really good-looking experience with archery. Now again, this isn't finished. This is still a work in progress. But the idea of, I don't know, pulling the arrow out of the quiver, getting it on your bow, seeing it, shooting it, shooting an apple off somebody's head or making blocks fall down is something we need to do for Beta 1. And you're going to be seeing it a lot sooner than later. Next up, number 9, weapon LODs. So we all know what LOD means, level of detail, and Tyler has completed his work on reducing the poly count or try count, for the cool kid word is try, on arrows. Now, what does that mean? It simply means that we'll get even more performance out of the engine. Number 10, static timing animation testing. So, the long and the short of it is we have to have melee and all weapon attacks that look good. Andrew's in the process still of writing a really great animation system, and no matter what the core of it is, it's something that's going to need to be iterated on by both the artists and the programmers, and so this is another step in that. Number 11, updated weapon animations. Yeah, that's pretty self-explanatory. As we continue to iterate on, on weapons, whether it's melee weapons or archery, Ben sees some things that he might not like. Tyler sees some things that he might not like. Sandra, Scott, all of us who get involved and look at things. Well, then we make them better. That's part and parcel with how we do things. Number 12, updated terrain mods. So, one of the nice things about the system we have for world creation is that it's done through the use of mods. We've been very clear that this is a real-time system. Ben can create these mods, Tyler, anyone can create these mods, and then as the game, as you play the game, it changes, obviously, what you're seeing. This is not like almost all MMOs, including Dark Age and Warhammer, where we created all the assets right from the beginning, we built all the land, it can't change. Nope, the terrain mods allow us to change things and more easily create things right from the beginning, but also change things on the fly. So, updates to terrain mods as well. Number 13, God, this keeps going.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. Updated character creation UI. So, James and AJ have been working on how to, make our screens look better, how to make the interface work better, how to, once again, feel more and more like a real game. And so, work on that continues. Number 14, yes, there's 14, and there's more too. Updated character model investigation. So look, the character of models over the decades has been something that every so often needs investigation. There have been lots of stories, occasionally bad things happening. It makes the headlines. And so, we're doing our own investigation, here. Do you think they got it?
I don't know.
I don't think they got it.
I don't think so.
Yeah, maybe that's too, dry of humor. I'm sorry if it is. Well, what that simply means is, just as we've done passes on weapons and stuff, we're looking at our models, we're looking at how we can do things better, looking at how we can change things. It's, at the end of the day, it's all about, or at the end of development, it's all about having a game where all the pieces fit together nicely, where not only they're efficient, therefore, LODing, but also that they look good, that they feel good, that's something that, you guys want to play. And so this is just part of that ongoing, hey, let's look at our assets and let's see if we need or want to make some changes. Number 15, quivers. So John has created 3 high poly models for the realm-specific quivers. We're going to get a material pass on that next week. Number 16, believe it or not, Realm Portal VFX. So Mike has been creating VFX for the Viking portal marker. You've seen the portal markers already in the game. There'll be more and more effects. Fancy, of course, because they should be. So that's moving in. Number 17, and yes, we've come to the end of the list. Michelle has continued working on new ideas for character creation. So one of the things that we've been doing here, that I don't think we've shown any screenshots for yet, is again improving what the character creation system looks like. Not only playing, not only the ability to do it as Mr. Q and AJ have been working on, but just to make everything feel better, look better, and not just in a, hey, we're throwing this out for beta one way, but in a way that we think can actually be closer to what we need at launch. So work continues on that.
Though we haven't shown screenshots, we have had 2 live stream sessions.
True.
James Koo was working on the art in a live stream, and AJ was working on implementing the art, creating a system for it on a live stream as well.
So yeah, you guys,
stuff looks really cool.
Yeah, so we're getting there. I thought, when we did our patcher and we did the initial pass for a game that was, pre-alpha, we looked pretty good. What we're doing now is looking better, and I have no doubt that when we're finished with this pass, it's going to look, quite great. So that's the top 17. So let's put that aside. Next, again, the grouping document. So, again, we'll only talk about this very briefly because we know the questions are going to be coming. Grouping systems in games, the impact of guilds, the ability of large groups of people to coordinate and work together in an RVR game is so freaking crucial. You guys, especially Dark Age of Camelot players or even players of War or ESO, you know that we have to find ways to give players tools to really work together to do things that you don't necessarily have to do in other games. In most games, you don't have to worry about the number of targets, that we have. You don't have to worry about the more complicated mechanics that we have. And having tools that you guys get to use is kind of important. We also know that guilds, whether it's back in, 19-something, then 20-something, have had an important place in history throughout our gaming history. Even though that's changed, certainly since the heyday of guilds, we believe, both of us believe, that guilds can be an important part of Camelot Unchained, just as they have been or were in Dark Age of Camelot, Warhammer, and other games. And so the document that you're going to see is a culmination of a lot of, again, thought, a lot of effort, and some ideas that, are kind of new to the genre. And so, JB has come up with some things that frankly haven't been in games before. We've got some, a whole lot of ideas that we urge you, please, to look at, think about, not only today, over the weekend, over the development. Because as of the development of this game, because as we move through Beta 1, we're going to start implementing these things. We're going to start with an MVP of, these features. We're not going to have
means minimum viable product.
Don't know. Yep, that's true. Yep. We're going to start with that and just keep adding and iterating. The important thing, as always, as I said on the forums, don't panic. If you think that something is so great, that's great. If you think something is terrible, that's fine too. Just don't panic. What we've tried to do is incorporate so many different game play styles of gamers. We've thought about single-player gamers. Solo players, like me. I'm a solo guy. I've been in guilds. I've been in the organizational structure of guilds, but I love solo. We've thought about small groups. One of the ideas, and you'll see this in the document, and we talked about, are war bands. Those are 4 small groups to work together to get recognition. We've talked about this before. We have battle groups. We have battle groups, which are a combination of war bands temporarily that come together to work together towards a goal. We have campaigns. This is one of JB's ideas for the game. This is something he'll talk about. It's something that I think is really important. I think it's a great add, to the system. And we have so many other things in this document when it comes to our orders, our guilds. Things that will make your life easier in terms of forming these orders, of achieving perks, of just enjoying and working with other members of your order, or even with groups of orders working together. So read the document, ask us questions. We're here for probably an hour because we expect there'll be a lot of questions about it. So in a moment I'm going to open it up. JB, if you'd like to tell them about campaigns or anything else you'd like to discuss to the guys who may not have read the document yet.
Yeah, for those of you
who
have not read the document. All right. As far as the grouping systems go, as Mark had mentioned, we have 5 different types of groups. Now, in this 5, we are including solo players as a group, which is very important, as Mark mentioned, to support solo play. But it's also, you get a lot of metrics and progression and a lot of tools that normally would be restricted only to groups and in group play. We want to give that to solo players as well. So as a solo player, you can experience Camelot Unchained, contribute to RVR, just as a warband can and just as an order can. And a lot of that also ties into where the idea of campaigns came from and why we want to implement this thing called campaigns. So what are campaigns, right? Campaigns are a group type that is a temporary association of solo players, warbands, and orders that can come together in order to achieve missions. As a player, you can create a campaign for a set amount of time, and in this campaign you can create missions. Missions will have set goals, or they will have general objectives. For the mission, as a player, you can set rewards for this, so that you can say, kill, for an example mission, right? You can just say, this mission is to attack this one castle.
Actually, let me just jump in on one thing, just to make it very clear. When JB says you can create, he means you can create. It's not.
Yes.
It's not us. It's not the realm. It's not some NPC magically working under us to give you daily rewards or things like that. This is what you, as players, as leaders of the campaign, can do. These are the tools we're putting in your hands. We have nothing to do with this other than building the framework. You guys are going to be doing what JB is talking about, not City State.
Yeah, and we do reserve the right to create campaigns from the realm in order to give new players stuff to do and other stuff like that. But yeah, the missions are created by players, and it's a way to get other people to help you out and to do things, and encourage cooperation amongst groups. You can set, say our mission is to attack this one castle, and there's many things that may come into attacking a castle. You need to get siege equipment in place. You need to get siege equipment built. You need to get war materials built up, armor, weapons, and all this stuff, and then you need like a whole army put together to do this. You can create a campaign that has many different missions that fill out each of these steps of getting things together for you to do, as well as with temporary access to permissions for your keeps of the people who are in the campaign. You can have you can share your land so people can stage things at their places, and it's all about working together and I think I'd call it crowdsourcing RVR, essentially, where you can say, my order wants to take over this other keep that somebody has. We don't have enough resources and manpower on our own to do this. Realm, help us. And you can get other orders to help you. You can get just anyone as well. You can set your campaign to be public, and it'll be searchable, and people will be able to find this and say what campaigns are going on, and they can look up, this campaign is attacking this thing. I want to go attack something. What am I going to do today? Let's go attack this, and then I'll get stuff for it. And the stuff you get is provided by the players who created the campaign. So it's just all working together in order to achieve RVR, and really helps with instilling the Realm Pride as one of our important features for CU. I think that is a general.
That's good
overall.
And so like JB says, the Realm Pride is really important, and server pride is just as important obviously is Realm Pride. For those of you who played, obviously, Dark Age or some other games, even, various games before and after, knowing that you were on a certain server and knowing the kind of play and the kind of people you had there, could be kind of important. And this is going to help. This is going to give you guys so much of an advantage, than what we had back in 2001 with Dark Age, because you can work together more easily. You can encourage people, to help you. You can reward them for helping you, and not just by getting on Discord or going on chat and saying, "Oh, I'll thank you," or "I'll be really appreciative." No, you can set out these goals to work together, and rewards, and you can't be cheated. Because all this stuff has to be set up. It can't be, "Oh, I'll gladly pay you Tuesday for a hamburger today." You'll have to obviously put the whether it's the gold or the resources or the other things that go along with it, that all has to be set up. So if those goals are met, the other side will always get their rewards.
Yeah, as I described in to the IT guys, since they get a little bit earlier access to this document, without this type of a system, say your guild has, just for the sake of an example, has 3 catapults. You can only man 2 catapults. You need to take 3 to go to the siege. And without this type of a system, you'd have to find somebody else and be like, "Here, take my catapult, and can you use it to attack this thing? And then can I have it back when you're done?" And there's no guarantee from the game that you're going to get your catapult back.
Yep.
Because the dude, you gave it to somebody else. They're out over there using it. They could just walk away with it. So by using a campaign, it gives you a secure in-game system to do things like this, which will encourage players to work together a lot more.
Way back during the early days of Warhammer's development, when I talked about the concept of public quest for the first time, I said that was going to be certainly one of the most borrowed, styles of gameplay that I'd ever been responsible for, or that any of the games I worked on ever produced. And of course, it was. Everyone started using public quests or the equivalent of that. I think this is something other people are also going to look at and go, "Yeah, we need something like this," as well. I think it's a great idea. I think it's a huge add, for our game, especially when we get the final version of it, done for live. I think it's absolutely a tremendously cool thing for players. That's really going to help in whether it's server pride or guild pride or just the fun, just the fun of getting out and doing what's important. We're just playing the damn game. We're just not worrying about how can I recruit people or how do I get people to talk to me. Yeah. It's there. You set it up. It's your darn campaign, and they're easy to search for. It's going to change for so many people. It's going to change and remove some of the more difficult parts.
And it answers a lot of the questions that we get a lot of times of, what am I going to do in Camelot Unchained?
Exactly.
You have this open world and islands to take over, plots to make, keeps to build, and when you just log in, what as a player, what am I going to do? This gives you you can do this.
Exactly. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, that's basically it.
So yeah, that's the document. That's some of it. There's so much more. And as JB and I say in it, there's a few other things, just a few, that we're also not talking about yet, for the same reason that we've said before, that obviously we're not live, and I am sure, just as we've seen already, other people all of a sudden come up with the same idea but then say it was theirs. So yeah, we're keeping some things to ourselves.
Keep some cool things. If other games start doing this campaign kind of idea, I'd actually be really happy. Other people are doing it.
Exactly, because it's part of being a developer. And the only thing I have always asked is people acknowledge it instead of going, "Hey, we invented it." No, you didn't. You didn't invent something that was used 10 years ago or things like that. So, yeah, we think it's cool. We hope you folks do as well. And there's a lot of other cool stuff in the document. So, having said that, let's start the Q&A. So, go.
All right. Ask your grouping questions of JB mainly and other things of Mark mainly.
Oh, stick to JB. Bother the hell out of him. That's why he's sitting here.
I'm hardly ever on these things.
Yeah.
I think I've only been on here once, and that was for groups also, I think.
Vesir asks, Can a campaign be used to offer land? For example, help us take over this keep, and the person with the most contribution will get a portion of land outside of the keep. One of the plots.
So that goes more into what kind of rewards you can get from a campaign, and those we have not talked about in the document, and that goes to more of how does land ownership work in CU, which is not something we're currently discussing and divulging. So as far as a campaign, any type of, generally think anything you can trade or give to other players is something that you can give out as reward from a campaign. And if you can't do that, then you're not going to be able to do that as a campaign. So.
My ID here asks, have any new investors been knocking on your door since you guys showed off the big bot battles in public?
No comment?
Sacrix asks, to both, what is fundamentally the problem with making a guild for smaller groups of people? Why the need for mini-guild warband? I feel it will cause corrosive aspect within guilds by segregation, taking away collective power of guilds. If times have changed, needing to be flexible, or efficiency of 2017, then how come no auction house by same logic?
I'll take this one.
Okay.
So, Sacrix, I've answered this question now multiple times on the forum. The bottom line is, and you know this from what I also said, is that these aren't mini guilds. What I said in the document, in an IT document, we've corrected a little bit. So warbands have a minimum of features from guilds, and if you just simply, start a spreadsheet, and on that spreadsheet you say, okay, here's what you get as guilds, here's what you get, or orders, and this is what you get as warband, it's going to be warbands, orders. So, if you think that it's corrosive because we have a named a named warband, or you think that it's corrosive because, 8 people or 10 people or 7 people or whoever wants to be in that, warband either on a permanent basis or a temporary basis is somehow going to, corrode guilds, the bottom line is, as I've said now way too many times, is that we don't believe that it will. We believe that there are a lot of players who don't want to be part of guilds. It's really that simple. And we are giving them a different way in order to group together with their friends, to earn some recognition, and to have fun together. Plus, as you know, warbands can be part of orders. And that means that as an order, is as well setting up these warbands and giving out rewards, that they have a convenient tool that they can use for doing that. Because after all, if a warband, especially a temporary one, is akin to a party, would you really make the argument that being able to have groups in games and the, obviously very old school LFG tool somehow corrodes a guild's authority or ability to recruit? The answer, of course, would be no, and people would look at you like, like he's crazy. Because that's all a temporary warband really is. And yes, permanent does have a couple of things. On the other hand, if you look at all the things we've given orders, so many things, warbands get almost none of them. So that's the bottom line. We like warbands. We like the concept behind them. We like what they're going to mean to the game going forward. And, for guilds, for our orders, we've given them so many tools and so many perks and done some other things that are interesting that I cannot imagine that it's going to have a negative effect, on your ability to recruit and the ability to run your guild. And like we've said, again, on the forum for now multiple weeks, it's not 2001, it's not 2004, and there's just a lot of people who don't want to be in guilds, but do want to play with their friends. It's a tool, nothing more, especially when you compare the lack of perks in a warband compared to the tons of perks, none of them that give you an advantage in combat, though, of orders.
Andre Cortesia asks, you said in the doc that a player can only join a single order. Does this mean that the account is order bound, only one order per account? This would prevent any higher hierarchy of multi-guild systems in which you have to switch alts to be in another order.
Okay, so one thing that I don't think was stressed in that document that you were given is that with all of our group systems, everything is character based. There is going to be no association to your account, to the group systems, and to your character. We don't want like your guild leader, for example, is not going to know who your other characters are in your when you join an order on a character. Like, your character is what joins the order. So to answer the question, no, it's not one per account, it's one per character. And I also just want to stress that everything is very strictly character privacy. You're not going to be able to know what other characters you have on your account unless you tell somebody. And that's very important to us.
Rec asks, for campaigns, what limitations are placed on the concept of missions? Must these have verifiable and objective conditions which must be met, or can more vague missions be given, like delay the enemy? If vague and subjective missions can be given, will it be solely up to the commanders to determine if those conditions were met?
Okay, so the important thing about the missions is that, as we had said, you kind of get a guarantee of rewards, or what you do to help, you get some kind of security in knowing that you're going to get something for it, or you're going to do something. So missions, they have to be quantifiable. It's not specifically quantifiable of kill X amount of people or what like that. It's, you can say defend this area, and defending this area, you can earn essentially progression, XP, and like points, and like a value of you've defended this to a certain number of value, which that value can then be sent to, you can get rewards once you reach this kind of point of how much you have defended this area. So using the progression system type tech that we use for doing the daily rewards, we can gear that towards using that same kind of technology of figuring out what you do and what your actions do and what your actions mean to build out how these missions work and how they calculate what you've actually done to contribute. So like when you say harass enemy in an area, you can have a mission that is fight enemy in this area, and there's going to be quantifiable metrics that are known of how you essentially do that.
Yep. I mean, sorry, go ahead.
No.
Yeah, the bottom line is the easier something is to quantify, the more likely it's going to be something that can qualify as a mission. On the other hand, there's always the possibility of having things that are just help out with the, help out, and it's a discretionary reward. But that's something that we'll think about only afterwards. Because no matter what, we're never going to be able to quantify everything. So there may be some wiggle room, but then that will come at a risk, and it'll be sort of a caveat emptor. That, if it's at commander's discretion, well, that's at commander's discretion. But we think the combination, even without that, simply the way that you'll be able to combine these missions means that you could have something like, okay, we've got this giant list, or not giant, big list of missions that are part of the campaign, where you can do multiple of them at the same time. So I think it's going to be a very interesting system, and I think it's going to one that is going to give you guys just an unprecedented amount of control over what you're asking people to do, and a way to give secure rewards. And look, at times both gold stars and red stars, or whatever system we use, for you kind of screwed up, thanks so much.
And not only that, you can direct players to do things, because some missions may have a completion objective, which then can trigger another mission to start that you've already pre-configured.
Yep.
So you can direct players to do things in a certain way as you need it to within your campaign, which should be fun.
CUREC asks, recently you stated an owner can bar members of the realm entry into their castle. Will the realm suffer a penalty if the castle is lost to an attack when members of the realm can't enter to defend or repair?
Yeah. I mean, look, that's, up to the guy who owns the castle. If the guy, wants to seal it off, sure, the realm is going to be punished for that, but he'll be punished more because his castle was just, I don't know, wrecked. Ha ha ha! Sorry.
So the realm's going to be punished in that they lose the castle.
Right.
Yeah.
Rygar has a tech question about the computing power of servers. Should we
Sure.
save that for... All right.
Yeah, go ahead.
Apparently, a single GTX 970 can run on real-time a flex simulation of about 80k particles without too much stress. So I'm curious about how many particles could a server like the ones that CSE is using for CU run in that simulation? And in the case of performance decreasing drastically as the number of particles grow, how many of those 80k simulations could one server run at the same time?
Well, first of all, our servers don't run simulations of the particle effects. You know, particle effects are triggered on the player's client because they're particle effects. If the particle effect also had a projectile component or something else, that'd be a different story. But particle effects are run on the client, not on the server.
Another question from Rec. Would it be at all possible to get a jump to first/next CSE post button for threads on the forum?
Oh,
I mean, probably.
probably. Yeah,
if we want to put time into that.
Yeah, I mean,
sure.
put that up, in terms of a suggestion, something you'd like us to do. It's not something that right now is a focus. That would be something I think Charles would do, right?
Yeah, Charles would be doing that if we were to have that.
Yeah.
So many questions. All right.
Shocking.
Dreege L asks a question from Ruka. Will you allow backers that only have access to Beta 2 to join Beta 1 due to the delay? And for some tests, all of them, specific ones?
Well, certainly some tests, and depending when we open up Beta 1, maybe more than some. But yeah, don't worry, Beta 2 guys, you're going to get in on the Beta 1 fun too. At least sometimes.
Inflicting MHZ asks, how often will an individual gather enough loot to fund a campaign?
Well, to fund a campaign really depends on what you want to award as rewards. So the amount of loot that you need is that you actually need is however much it costs to create the campaign, and then you can add in the rewards at whatever value you want to add. So if you don't have a whole lot to give, you can't offer a lot, but maybe people will still help you out for the fun of helping you out, or for the small amount of loot, because that could be good loot to them too.
Hey, we should do a Kickstarter for that.
Dreegel asks a question from Bazook. If, as planned, Scouts won't be accessible at full CU release, what would be the means put in our hands to map? And if any, will those means still remain while the class is released?
Yeah, that's a great question. Actually, I don't think it's been asked before. So first, obviously, we would love to have Scouts in at release, especially with the delay we've had. The second, and as always, an honest answer, I have no idea. We honestly haven't thought about yet what we would do for mapping on a permanent basis or semi-permanent basis. Obviously, we're going to have maps in during beta to make people's lives easier, and those will go away. So, if we had to come up, had to come up with something clever, so people could get a mapping function during the early months of live, we could certainly do that. I'd rather not. I'd love to have Scouts in for launch.
Okay, Dreegel asks a question from Yap Hussein. Can we think about a bonus system for guilds or parties that only have one specific race, and other types of bonuses aside those for multiracial ones?
So, as far as the grouping systems go, we're not doing that. Mostly there's a lot of choices matter and how classes work, and some races may not be that as good for some classes. So it's not something that we're thinking about doing.
And I think that would also not help Realm Pride at all.
Yeah.
if you go everybody but the Lucapans. I might agree with that at times, but no, we're not going to do anything like that.
Brandon Lowe asks, items are player crafted. Will there be anything that's account bound?
Could we have an account bound item? In theory, yes. We haven't talked about it, but you folks know me. I'd rather be a little cautious with some things. I could see reasons to have account bound items, but as of now, none are planned.
Dregel asks a question from Gorther. Have you thought about a guild bonus for crafting, like unlocking dyes or harvesting gathering boosts upon completing certain tasks or objectives?
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Odilvik asks a question from Poxer. Will there be game mechanics in place to incentivize mega guilds away from their traditional centralized, self-sufficient, antisocial, independent, internal economic infrastructure? Those were some big words.
Big words. The
realm-dominating strategic dogma they would bring when they migrate to CU from other MMOs.
Wow, all he missed was like the running dogs of the capitalistic state,
yeah,
you know, versus the good and true people of communism.
Yeah, there's a lot of big words there, but I think the overall concept was, are we encouraging mega guilds? No, we are definitely not encouraging mega guilds. All the perks and systems for guilds that they'll earn are designed so that guilds of all sizes will be able to achieve any of the perks. Larger guilds may get them faster, but that does not mean that a small guild cannot get them or will not get them. Based on how plots will work and how permissions will work, I honestly think it'll be more fun to have smaller guilds, but by smaller, not as in like, not like 1,000
8 people,
not 8, but like, a decent sized, medium sized guild, just because the amount of things you can do as a guild.
And what's really important is, what JB said about the small guilds being able to still get the same rewards. And we don't mean by grinding, because the whole point of Camelot Unchained is to be a not grindy game. That yes, we have a horizontal progression system that's slow, but it's not slow because, I don't know, you have to swing a sword 10,000 times to get a use, or beat on a rock 500 times, to get your skill to go up. It's not about that. It's about playing the game and having fun. So a small guild that's simply going and being active and trying to succeed will gain these rewards. They don't have to go, well, we only got 3 of us, so, we better, or 8 of us, or even 10 of us, so we better work that much harder, because that's the only way we'll get the perks, or that's the only way this year we'll get the perks. We are not going to do things that way at all, not for this game.
Veruca asks, okay, I want to set up a campaign to, say, attack a castle, but I don't have enough siege weapons, ammunitions, wagons, and supplies to equip an army of volunteers who probably don't have the stuff themselves. Can I get a loan off the king to be repaid from the profits when we win?
Yeah, but what if you lose? In all seriousness, though, that's something we have talked about. I think we talked about very early on in the Kickstarter days. And we've also talked about it with crafting, that people who need something, will be able to get some help from the realm. Could you potentially get some help from the realm to, whether it's accomplish certain goals or just get certain material help? Yes, I would love to be able to have that. That fits in very nicely with our, system of, hey, if the realm is in trouble, the realm would release some resources. So, yes, if a realm is in trouble, the king could say, hey, we need, you guys to start fighting back a bit more. We need to, start to take back some of our pops. And for anyone who's willing to undertake a campaign, you can, use...
Well, this is also something the realm can create a campaign to do that.
Correct. Well, but even if people want to do that,
yes,
that they can get some help from the realm and would still have to, say, give back, the material at the end, or if successful, obviously then they would get to keep it. But that's not a Beta 1 feature.
Yeah, and on the other part of that note of you don't have all the materials and all the siege equipment, you can create a multi-staged campaign where the missions start at just gathering resources and then building these siege engines and then moving the siege engines out to an area, the staging area, then doing an attack. And that'll be a lot cheaper overall because you'll get things as you go through the campaign.
Mm-hmm.
Probably. I mean, you're setting prices and people are accepting the prices or whatnot. But that you can do it through stages, so you don't have to do it all at once.
Nope. Just remember, there's lots of ways to skin that cat sheet.
Friendly Fire
You
asks.
missed that one.
Friendly Fire asks, will crafters be able to build things unrelated to RVR in the RVR zone? For example, if a crafter builds a house in the contested RVR zone, does that house count towards the island capture mechanic?
Oh, sure. I mean, look, anything you do in the contested lands, is going to help your realm. Now, it's not going to necessarily bring, if you don't have a stabilizer, it's not going to help bring the island together, but it's still something that you did to help, your realm. You'll be rewarded, and it will certainly count towards, your overall capture or other mechanics that we use in determining what's happening to the land around you. As you folks may remember, as you may remember, we certainly can make the terrain change at the drop of a hat. So it's something that could be useful.
Dregel asks, from Dr. Benton, lore-wise, are there any rivalries between specific races from two distinct realms?
Oh, sure. Absolutely.
In fact, it's in their short descriptions on the website.
Yes, it is. That was easy. Thank you.
Max should just jumped around. Hi.
Yes. Hi,
I know
I'm
this
Max.
one.
I'm Max. I know the lore.
Let's see. Friendly Fire asks, combatants influence RVR through their actions like killing and sieging. How are crafters being specifically designed to impact and influence RVR?
Oh my God. I mean, I've talked about this, before FF, that, you have many ways. A crafter has many ways to contribute to, RVR without having to fight in RVR. So whether it's helping to repair things that have been destroyed in, via RVR, even if RVR isn't happening right there. The ability to donate to the realm, I've called out many times, and I think as well in some of the documents we put out. So there's a ton of ways that crafters can get involved in RVR without having to actually fight. And that's one of the things I've said, also countless times, that the reason we don't want people doing this all day, 12 hours a day, besides carpal tunnel, is that we want people to be, and we want crafters to do other things to help the realm, even if they choose not to go into combat. They're always welcome to. There'll always be things they can do, but you can always contribute even if you don't go into battle.
Folks, with the number of questions, the chat is kind of skipping around, so I'll get to your question. I'm going to be jumping around in the questions.
Yeah, so don't be offended if we don't answer your question, because, based on what Max just said, I bet it's really interesting in chat right about now.
You are correct.
Yeah, I kind of figured
But
that.
it's always interesting.
Even more interesting.
Sacrix asks, as a combat leader, it seems there may be no UI. I was expecting something similar to multi-raid parties on screen with the possibility to mark a friendly target, say if he's the main assist for damage, or seeing a friendly dying. Will we see any tools to facilitate this, or do you want all coordination done in-game by reacting visually to what is going on around you?
So there will be tools to facilitate this. Now, the tools will not specifically be unit frames, because when you have battle groups that can have so many players in them, having your screen filled up with the standard unit frames that you get in a raid UI in WoW, for example, you would have no game screen left. So we are going to be experimenting throughout beta on several different ways of giving this information to combat leaders so that they can have the information they need to effectively lead, as that's what this game is all about, is about combat, and large-scale group combat is what CU is and what we want CU for CU, so we definitely are going to be working to facilitate that.
Zumos MMORPG asks, as anyone can start a campaign, are you not worried that there becomes an overload of campaigns and missions? Are there any systems in place to prevent that from happening?
Great question.
Okay, so as anyone can create a campaign, when you create them, you do set a start date and an end date. They will not last forever. They will also cost money. And if you have too many campaigns being created in the realm, intrinsically they'll stop being created because you're wasting money on them. They're not free and they're not going to be necessarily cheap. In addition, this has not been in the design, but it's not possible to potentially limit campaigns if we see that this is a problem throughout testing. But as of right now, that we are not saying there is a limit, because
there is a limit.
Well,
we know
there's going to be a limit.
We know there's a limit. Look, the bottom line is, guys, JB's trying to be all nice and polite, and I'm like, guys, if anyone tries to spam the number of campaigns they create,
well, yes,
we're not going to let you do that. Obviously, you couldn't write, you could try to write a tool to allow you to do that and just spam the hell out of it. And gee, we may ask you to do that during beta for testing, but the bottom line is you can't just create, oh yeah, this is my 50th campaign of the day, and I want to fill up the slots so everyone who's looking for a campaign only sees my campaign. You won't be able to do it. There'll be limits on it. It's got to be sensible, because if, the idea of somebody just going, hey, I want to spam, because it's not like anyone would do this, right? I want to spam all the basic campaign types, that I could put out there, so my name will always be, or my campaign will always be at the top, or things like that. We're not going to allow people
like
to
chat,
do that.
there will be spam filtering.
Correct.
And along with warbands as well.
Correct. And, this is something whether, you can only create a certain number of campaigns until you've played the game for a certain amount of time. There's going to be limits, because otherwise it would be just dumb. Because no matter if 99.9+% of you are good and decent and true, it doesn't take many people who aren't to mess a system up. So, yeah, don't worry about that.
All right. Kaladex asks, what happens to unearned campaign rewards?
Unearned rewards? Then they go back to whoever created the campaign.
Flimas asks, the boons and banes we choose at the character creation are fixed, from what I know so far. What happens if there are some changes to the boons and banes because of balance? Will we be able to change it?
I got it. So, yeah, of course. We've said from the beginning, really from the beginning, that, this is not going to be a game where you can have the flavor of the month, constant respec stones, things like that. It's not going to happen. On the other hand, if we make changes to any aspect of the game that could have a dramatic effect on a character, we're going to offer the ability for people to respec. So yes, if we change the banes and boons, you can do that. If we make dramatic changes to a character class post-launch, which we certainly hope that we don't have to do, there'll be a chance for people to respec their characters. Doing otherwise would just be mean and stupid and other things. We're not perfect, but mean and stupid generally we're not.
Zeral Sven asks, have you considered missions required to craft a certain item for a reward, possibly replacing auction houses in a way?
Oh, absolutely. Whether you want to call them missions or, an order system, using the other use of the word order.
Contracts as well.
Is contracts,
right?
Exactly. Thank you.
Kind of interchangeable in that.
Thank you.
Yeah, and contracts are going to be actually part of campaign missions. They will make use of contracts as well for certain types of missions, like specifically that one can just be basically a contract. So,
CSE Tim asks, is there an exclusivity mechanism on the campaign rewards to prevent multiple parties from competing for the same reward?
Right, so
we won't hang on. We won't let you go for anything, Tim. You can guarantee that, yes, it's exclusive. we'll have it in there right from the beginning. No CSE Tim.
Yeah, but like as we had just talked about, about contracts and how they can work with the campaign system. If there is a campaign mission to say create 3 catapults, if 4 players go there and say they just look at it and just say, oh look, it says create 3 catapults, and they all each go and try to create a catapult and bring it, then there'll be 4 and somebody wasted their time. To avoid that, you will see it says create 3 catapults. You can create a contract with that to accept, I will create 1 of these catapults, or 2 or 3, and then you'll have a limited time to complete that contract before it gets opened up again. So through that, you will have an exclusivity, so you're not going to waste your time doing things on a campaign and not getting anything for your work.
And we'll build tools as well so you'll know that, hey, if CSE Tim, for example, comes in and says he can do something for you, then you may want to say just no, or you'll have a record of what he's done. I mean, one of the things that would be hugely annoying in a game like this is since we're encouraging people actually to interact with each other and work with each other, if it wasn't easy for you to track any interactions you had with other people. Again, privacy, so this is not something that would be realm wide. But if I work, for example, with Tim on 5 contracts, I'll know that I actually worked with him on 5 contracts.
Yeah, we may have a feature that was talked about in this document about that kind of thing. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
We have a connections list.
Yes, we do,
that
we?
will tell you your
Shocking.
connections and what they've done with you and your interactions with them.
There you go.
So.
Real Life Gobbo and Odilvik ask, if you set a campaign, can you also take part in the campaign with the same character and gain progression?
You can, however, the progression is virtual campaign progression. So if you create a campaign and say that for part of the campaign, if you do so much progression, you get a trophy from the campaign that you created and you provided for yourself, you can give yourself stuff that you made for yourself for other people as well. Why not?
And of course, you'll also gain normal progression.
Well, you gain normal progression as you would if you weren't doing it as part of the campaign.
Yeah.
Immortal Mage asks, are deeds going to be character-based or account-based? Will each character on an account have the deed in their inventory?
So that's something we've talked about. The real question is, and this is so important, of course, is the amount of land we'll have. Our intent is to make sure we have enough that every character, obviously, can have, every account can always have their own land. We also want to make sure that every character can have their own land, but that's something that, look, we have to just see how it goes. It's not that it doesn't, we're worried about doing it, but we just need to be sure, because we've said right from the beginning that we don't want to make this a land rush game. It won't be. But if all of a sudden we had to have a lot of space that we didn't have the room for whatever reason, we just want to keep our options open. But the bottom line is, no, I think we'll have plenty of room in the game for people to have multiple deeds to multiple plots. But I don't want to promise anything that we would be wrong on. Don't like doing that.
Njelly013 asks, if I enjoy killing people and mobs for rewards that help me grow as a character, will there be things to allow for this in slow, non-peak player hours?
So are you asking whether we would have things you could kill that aren't players that would help you kill, still earn kills? Not quite sure what you mean by that. If you're thinking, maybe we'd let people in from other servers during non-peak hours or things like that. If you still have 20 minutes. So if you could go into a little bit more detail about what you mean, that'd be great.
I'll keep my eye out for that, Njelly. On the YouTube chat, Alvaro Serrano wants to know if there's no love for Linux users.
Oh, there's tons of love for Linux users. I'm a Linux guy, but it's a giant but, and I am so sorry. As we've said from the beginning, we're not focusing on a Linux client right now. We didn't focus on it during the Kickstarter. We still can't focus on it. Our engine is really powerful, and we're doing a lot of things under Windows, for Windows, using DirectX. So right now we cannot promise that we could get the same kind of performance running under Linux that we can with the PC. And again, big Linux user, but it just doesn't make sense for our studio right now.
And graphics aside, we use a lot of Windows API calls, just other than graphics. So it would be a huge change in our code base right now. So,
Gypsy Dancer asks,
Hey, Gypsy.
Hey, Gypsy. I'm concerned about this concept of realm punishment. Are you actually considering a punishment for an entire realm based on the actions of a few of its members? What sorts of punishments would these be? If CSE notices the bad behavior, why can't CSE punish the players accordingly?
Well, I think you're misinterpreting the whole realm punishment thing. If you go back to the things we said, I'm sure you remember, during the Kickstarter regarding keep trading, that's what we're talking about. If there's no way to say, hey, if you lose a keep, if you lose a castle, if you lose a pop, if there's no punishment for the realm in that sense, then people will just keep trade. If there's no incentive to defend, then people won't defend. And one of the ways you give people incentive to defend is a carrot and a stick. And we have said this from day one. You have to have a reason to defend. You have to. And part of it is rewards. And we certainly would rather use all rewards. But we also have to be willing to say that, hey, your realm that outnumbered the other realms by 3-1 sat around, let your keeps be taken, let your castles be taken, let your pops be taken, and then, oh gee, mysteriously, magically, all got together then to take them back? How many games does that sound like? So remember, the punishment is not about making your life harder. It's just about saying that, hey, when you have a system like ours, a game like ours, where you have so many moving parts, where you have everything, again, from mines to castles, that the realm and its people are encouraged to defend as well as attack. Because none of us, absolutely none of us, want to see the same kind of shenanigans that happened in games like War and other games that I won't mention because I didn't make them. So I don't want to insult any of the developers. But we've seen it happen. So that's what we mean by punishment. It's not like, oh gee, now all of a sudden your weapons are not going to work as well, or things like that. It's just, hey, you guys didn't defend, so your realm rewards the next day won't be what they should have been. That sort of stuff.
Salty Chew wants to know if there's a penalty for losing a campaign.
For losing a campaign, you do not get the rewards from the mission that you were attempting to do. So
and you lose the costs.
You also lose the costs.
And you can lose any of the goods. I mean, if you were using like siege engines, and as part of your campaign, those siege engines were destroyed.
Yeah, if they're destroyed, they're destroyed.
Yep.
If you were in a campaign and you were using a castle as your point, and then that got destroyed because your campaign aggravated the enemy, and then they rounded up and took all your stuff, then you lose your stuff.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Vesir asks, I'm guessing the answer to this question is no, but will campaigns award experience?
The answer is no. They will give a virtual experience within themselves that can be used for rewards. They will not give any additional experience to your character, like as far as normal game progression in your daily reports and stuff.
Yeah, that would be a little bit easy to abuse, wouldn't it?
Yeah, very easy to abuse.
Adric Cortesia asks, how do you deal with people with a lot of alts in combination with the maximum head count of orders? Does every alt count individually? And what's your plan in organizing many people with many alts?
Right, so as I had mentioned earlier, it's all about your character. And if you have many alts, then you are going to be using up order slots. The size of orders is not going to be super small. It's going to be decently sized that, for most people, you should be okay with it. But that's definitely a thing. If everyone in your order has a ton of alts, it's going to be maybe a problem for you. So.
Black Boa Gaming asks, as a solo player, is there any reason for you not to participate in a Realm event? Like, is there a place for people who are solo to just ignore all Realm activities and just accumulate personal wealth? Or will the rewards for Realm versus Realm be so great that it would be a detriment to the solo player to not participate?
Well, everything is Realm versus Realm. So I think what you're trying to say is, wouldn't it be better as a solo player to participate in campaigns in RVR? Because as a combatant, the only way you advance is being in RVR. By, I don't know, burning down buildings and taking stuff and killing other players. So the answer is yes. You can happily solo your way through this game, progress just fine without being in a campaign, without being in an order. That's up to you. Would you benefit? Are there benefits for doing all the above? Well, of course there are. It's up to you how you want to play. If you want to be the lone wolf who never is part of a campaign, you can progress just fine. You can get, as JB said earlier on, you can get rewards for doing that. You can get fame for doing that. Or you can go the other way. Or you can go a combination where sometimes you're in a warband. Sometimes you join in order to play for a while. It's up to you. The game has to be solo friendly. We've said that. It also has to be group friendly. It has to be order friendly. That's what we're trying to build. Something that can accommodate whole different types of play styles without saying that the answer to succeed in this game is only one of them.
Yeah, and even as non-combat players, if you're a crafter that's just collecting a ton of resources and selling a ton of resources to get yourself a ton of money, those resources are going to help the realm.
Exactly.
So you are participating in RVR just by gathering resources and bringing them back and selling them.
Yeah, everything essentially is participating in RVR. It really is. If you're making, like JB said, whether you're gathering or making items for other players, you're participating in RVR. The only thing that isn't participating in RVR really is sitting around and chatting. You don't get points for that. But other than that, yeah, you pretty much everything you do is in some way contributing.
Buying items from one person, selling them higher at the other person, I guess is not
that's not really
to your realm.
Yeah.
So you could do that, but
yeah, there isn't much, right?
No,
when you think about it.
Odalvik asks a question from Rhaegar. Let's say I grab 5 plots and build homes on them out on a neutral island. Then Sen Island gets claimed by my realm. Also, let's say I'm not allowed to own that many homes in my own realm. Do I get to keep all 5?
So you built out in the contested lands, then you took your realm took everything over? Is that what he said?
Yeah.
Okay. So yes, you would bump against a limit at that point. If it all becomes your realm, then we would enforce some kind of limit. What that limit is, honestly, we don't know yet. More than one, less than a lot. Because the bottom line is, if we start allowing people to take too much space, then that's going to make it harder as the server ages to bring on new people.
Yes, the question is, would you lose your plots if you went over your limit then?
Right.
Yep.
And by the way, even if you lost your plots, we would have some kind of reward system, to thank you for your donation to the realm.
Kaladex asks, what happens if a campaign is set up to take a castle, and the castle isn't fully taken before the campaign ends, but it's close? Can campaigns be extended for a price?
Okay, so this is something that has been discussed, and they have a set duration, and I have talked about potentially doing a one-time extension on these things, which is something that we'll have to experiment with throughout testing, and that is definitely an issue. We definitely don't want campaigns to be permanent, and they will not be permanent, and they will not be able to be extended forever indefinitely either. So it's a testing we'll see kind of thing on that as a potentially extended one time.
Odilvik asks a question from Lotaween with 2 parts. Has the percentage of materials, items, and other stuff on a caravan that will be vulnerable to looting by the enemy been determined yet, or is that still subject to testing?
Honestly, we haven't given that a moment's thought. That will happen as we move through beta.
And the second part of the question is, if it is greater than 0%, will caravans be fully capturable by the enemy? Meaning that if they can avoid damaging the animals and vehicles while killing all the players, they will be able to take control and immediately start moving the caravan toward their own territory.
Yeah, obviously that would be the way we would like to go. It's it would be kind of useless to take over a caravan full of stuff and that you don't have any animals to move it with. So yeah, that would absolutely be the intent.
Ghost Eye asks, will campaign rewards be delivered by the system, like through mail, or will personal player-to-player acceptance be required? I like the idea of interacting with people in person.
They will be delivered through game systems, but not specifically, we're not saying through mail. There will be NPCs set up through campaigns that you can talk to, for one, and then some other items may come from just getting sent to you, like your daily rewards are sent to you, but not everything.
Yeah, I mean, look, that's something that could be also very easily abused. You know, you create a great campaign and then the guy's account expires, or the person just doesn't show up and you can't get your rewards. So that would be bad. Folks, 5 minute warning. Then I want to ask everyone a question, and then we'll go to Prezzies.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. Grumpy043 asks, will it be possible to reward players for defending a point of interest when players are manning defensive weapons, cause the enemies to run by the POI?
What's a place of interest?
Place of power?
I make a joke because I think that's what they call it, a different game. In a different game. Yeah. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, by place of power. Sure, defending, we've said right from the beginning that, and this goes to what, longtime backer Gypsy was asking us earlier, defending has to be important in our game. It has to be. So you just standing around in an area, manning a defensive weapon, or simply being in a position where you can help, and the enemy does go by, sure, absolutely, you have to be rewarded for that. Otherwise, people who will say, hey, I was defending the keep and nobody attacked, say, well, I'm just wasting my time. So yeah, absolutely. Now, of course, this also feeds into the progression reward system. So if your realm is up, 4-1, and you're sitting in a keep out in the middle of nowhere and nobody comes anywhere near you, yeah, there's not going to be a lot of rewards for that.
Looking for a good one to end with as we're nearing the end here. Odilvik asks, will NPC guards earn promotions, and become better over time? Perhaps guards could become a commodity.
That's a great question. Really good. Thank you. The answer is I have no idea. Because honestly, we haven't discussed that yet. Having a progression system for NPCs, that would be fantastic. But we haven't spent any time on that yet.
Briar C asks, can you barter for campaign rewards? Such as no one is accepting a campaign you created, but it's because no one wants to spend their time doing such a campaign because the rewards are lackluster. Or will the campaign just expire and you have to repost it?
You can cancel it and repost it if no one's participating. So then you can put it up again and put more rewards up in campaign escrow. So then you can incentivize other people to come, or you can just cancel that one mission and reset up rewards for that mission.
Exactly. I mean, we don't want to be hard cases with this and just say, "Oh, you put in your one campaign for the month, and now you can't do anything about it," even though you put accidentally or on purpose put a reward that nobody really wants. No,
And if
don't
it's a
worry about it.
concern about nobody really wants the specific reward, you can offer choices of rewards as well. Or you can sell rewards through a currency that you earn.
All right. Well, should I come on and open the box?
No, remember I was going to ask him a question first.
Oh, yes. Go ahead.
No worries. Okay, so you are all caught up in chat?
Not quite, but
Okay.
I can keep going if you want.
No. I meant that to scroll all the way down.
Oh,
so
that
you
I can
watch
do.
it.
That
Thank
I can
you.
do.
Gosh, I think you would know by now. Obviously, a couple things, and then I'll get one thing. I want to get to the question. First, I want to thank JB, as well as other folks who helped on this document, whether it's creating it, ideas, editing, like Max, Ben from design, and other folks who've just come by while we're talking about things like Tim, because that's kind of the CSE way. We've said right from the beginning that everything here doesn't have to come out of my head, or everything great on the programming side has to come out of Andrew's head. It's one of the things that makes us different is not only we talk together about these things and we want different opinions, and we've also talked about how JB, programmer guy, never signed on as, hey, I'm a programmer designer guy, ended up getting a whole lot of design into this game. And, that's how we do things. Or the fact that JB is sitting here and not, Ben or not someone else and, letting the designers take all the credit. That's just not the CSE way. We're not perfect, but hey, I think we do the things the right way, certainly almost every time. And I think this is a really good example. So JB, just as I've said publicly to these folks before, great damn job.
Thank you.
And all of us are appreciative of yours and everybody's effort here. And if we can get more people to sit on the couch, with me, that would be great. Some people are shy. He's not. But again, it's an important thing for our studio, and we think it's an important thing for you folks, because it's not just, hey, what idea did MJ have, or what idea did Ben have? Anything that we like, anything that we think can add to the game, we want to put into the game. So that's the statement. Now the question. So you've heard a lot about it, about the various systems. You've asked a lot of good questions of JB. What do you think, folks? Thumbs up, thumbs down overall on the system?
They want to send you less stable coffee cups. Let's see. Love it. Thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. Up, 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 way up, yeah. Thumbs up, thumbs up. Love it, exceeded expectations. Up. Sideways.
Okay.
A down on punishments. Thumbs down bar from campaigns. Thumbs up. Love the idea, now put it into practice. Best system I've heard in years. Needs more tacos. That's Tim. Thumbs way up. As we said from the beginning, thumbs up. Up, 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 and much love.
Cool. Cool.
Guess
Thanks.
that's Tyler at the end there.
Thanks for that, folks. And again, if Gypsy, if you're out there and or whoever did the thumbs down on punishments, just remember, nothing has changed. This is the exact same thing we've been saying from day one. It's not about punishments. It's about not giving people quite the same reward when their realm sat on their butts and didn't do anything. If your realm is outnumbered, that's a whole different story. If your realm is, on the other hand, the realm with the numerical advantage, and you guys are simply staying in your safe cities, will that affect the realm rewards? It has to, because if we don't do that, then we get into keep trading and the kind of round robin Zerg fests where people just, they're not having fun, not really. They're not, playing the game not the way that we want them to play, but playing the game that you backed, which is an RVR game, which actually has RVR, which actually has groups fighting other groups, groups defending, structures, groups losing structures. And the only way that we can prevent the kind of mindless stuff that so many games have had is by being more creative, being more, excuse the trope, holistic, and looking at a number of different ways to both reward and, yes, to offer the stick as well for the people who aren't doing things. And no, it doesn't mean if one keep or one homeowner or one castle owner isn't doing anything, it's going to have a hugely negative effect. No, that would be dumb. Remember, these progression rewards happen over the course of a 24-hour day. So yes, if your entire realm is sitting on its butt, that's not going to work out well. On the other hand, if over the course of 24 hours, if a few things are lost by the realm that's, even if it's even at relatively even numbers, even if you lose some things, it's not going to have much of an effect. On the other hand, if you're the folks who are sitting on your butts, that's not going to help. If your keep, your place of power that you control, is hurt, is taken, yes, that's going to hurt. I should say is taken, that's going to hurt you. So keep that in mind. Again, nothing has changed since even before the Kickstarter. It's in the foundational principles. It was in the Kickstarter, and we've talked about it as well since the beginning. There's got to be a carrot and a stick, because otherwise it just will not end well. Now, Prezi.
All right. Now I'd like to come on camera and
Yeah.
open this one, as this is addressed to me
Yeah,
and
go.
the team.
Okay, then I'll stand up, and you can sit down.
Okay.
It's all yours.
All right.
Deliver this to you.
Yeah, actually. Do we have... I was hoping we had a cap or a delivery. It's the camera plug. Or it was. Somebody say on chat, please, that we are... Here, let me look.
Okay.
Yeah, because when you touched one of the plugs, we came back on. And then we went off again.
No, right, the
Power,
camera,
maybe?
the camera is froze.
Oh, no. Max broke the internet.
we do have audio.
Yeah, we have audio.
Broke the internet. Max broke the internet.
I'm magic. I'm the one who finds the most bugs.
That's true.
Oh,
we go.
wait. Are we
There
back?
we
We're
go.
now?
back.
Camera again.
Camera's back. Hurry,
Yeah.
Max, before we lose it
Okay.
and you break it
Okay.
Yeah,
again.
we're good.
We're good. I
Okay.
can see
Go
it.
ahead.
It's lit.
All right.
The
Cam
light's
is
on.
back.
Turn it
Okay,
off,
good.
turn it back on again, and it works.
All right. Yay. Okay, it's
Magic.
good. All right. So, now this is from the backer Necromaniac, who's an amazing backer who has built a ton of really cool stuff in Cube, and we've hosted streams by Necromaniac and whatnot. And I guess Necromaniac decided to send us something special. So this is addressed to me and the whole team. So I'm going to be the one to open it. And here we go. It's a huge and heavy box. It weighs like 85 kilograms.
Wait, you know what
What's
kilograms
that in real
are?
weight?
Thank you.
What'd you say?
I said, what's that
He
in
said,
real weight?
what's that in real weight? And I was
What's
like,
the
you know
real
what
weight?
kilograms
Well,
are?
that's what it is on the label.
That's actually the other way around because we use metrics.
Well, there you go. All right.
No, so he knows. Does he know what it is?
Necro packed this like Fort Knox,
Now,
fortunately.
Cut the whole like.
And if it's broken at all, I will fix it with super glue, Necro, so don't worry.
You're going to fix
Wow.
the box?
No.
Why would you do that?
I mean, I could, but that seems silly.
So does
That
the way
is
you're
tape
opening
on
the
the
box.
Oh my god. Do you have a better idea?
Yes?
Oh. That is a better idea.
Instructional
box opener.
There we go.
So yes, Max, like you said, I did have a better idea.
Yes. Well, that's why you're the boss. All right. Can you guys see the box? All right, good. Ugh. You're gonna have to stand up because it's just a lot. Oh my goodness. This thing is big.
Yay, we got styrofoam!
A lot of styrofoam and packing material.
Oh my god.
Oh my god. Oh hell, mother of the 9 worlds.
Okay, this is just like awesome.
Wow.
Nobody can see.
Yeah, you'll wait till you guys see it. Easy.
You know what? I'm
Easy,
just gonna
yeah.
rip the box.
Rip the box. We don't care about the box. We care very much about what's in the box.
Wow. All painted and everything.
Oh, this is amazing.
Wow.
Hang on. Okay.
And there it is.
No.
No?
There it is.
There it is.
Can everyone see that?
It says Camelot Unchained on the side. Up here it says for Max Porter
Put it down a
and
little bit. So okay, that'll be good when the stream recovers. People will be able to actually see it all.
there it is.
Come on.
Wow.
Come on. There we go. So yeah, check it out, guys.
There it is.
That is
An
amazing.
enormous dragon skull with a stand and everything, fully painted. And it says Camelot Unchained on it with our new logo. And it says for Max Porter and the others.
Nice.
Which is amazing. It has like
Different logos.
different logos on
Logos.
it. Oh, there's the Cube logo on the side.
And Unchained. Oh, this is so cool. Necro, man,
Oh my god.
that rocked. This rocks.
Wow.
Holy
Look
cow.
at that. Now I'm gonna there's a letter. Necro also wrote a letter
Oh.
to be read on stream.
Oh, okay.
That we can,
Here.
Get rid of all this crap.
Damn, this thing is cool.
it's solid wood and clay and whatnot. Well, why don't I set it down on the couch? Make my companion while I read. Wow, look at that thing. And there it is. Wow. Nice workout. Yeah, it's solid wood and clay. All right. And Necro Maniac wrote this letter. Got to catch my breath.
Oh my god, I think we stressed Max out too much.
I'm kind of overwhelmed, actually. I think this is stunning. Hi there, Max and the others.
I love that. That's great.
I'm never going to hear the end of that one.
No, you're not. It's
Never.
great. No, it's fantastic.
First of all, I am terrible at writing notes, but it would be weird to send a gift without one, I guess. As most of you know, I have spent an awful lot of time building in Cube, but there is more to life than just Cube. I like to keep myself occupied while waiting for Camelot Unchained to unfold. Now, I could ask for the beta release day every week, but that's no fun. So, I picked up some clay. Oh,
Your elbow was getting too close to
gotcha,
the,
yeah,
corners.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Now, there's a couple reasons I made what I made. The main reason is Max's stories of the lores and monthly competitions he put up in the newsletter. Wow. I've submitted a couple drawings in the past, and every time I did, I was thinking to myself, what if I made it in 3D for a change? There was a submission where I already made a wire model, but time just ran out, so I drew it again. And there's the Hopefully you
Wow.
can see
Yeah.
in the drawing he did. At some point, there was a newsletter with the competition or assignment to create the entrance to the depths. This had to be it. The idea I had was a huge dragon skull with the open mouth as entrance. I soon noticed I wouldn't be able to make it in time before the end of the month, as it takes a while to arrive at the office since I am from Europe. But since I already started something, I wanted to finish it, and I did. It's not the entrance to the depths, though, but something more. It's my thank you to Max for his stories that always inspire and tickle my imagination. It's also a thank you to Michelle for the streams. Those made me draw again. And thank you to MJ for giving me IT access. And Tyler for hooking me up with the streaming in the past. And also thanks to the Code Warriors, JB and Andrew, for fixing cube problems on the spot. I'm just naming the people that I've been involved with the most, but it's for everyone in the office, of course. I hope you guys like what I made. Necromaniac. Necro, I mean, I'm humbled and honored, and I don't really, I don't often run out of words, but it's hard to know what to say because this is just a work of art, and the fact that you wanted to say thank you to me in particular and to everyone here in such a way is just stunning, and thank you. I'm going to put this somewhere where we can see it, and I don't know what else to say. I guess that's the end of the stream.
Say the usual close.
Oh, sure. Folks, we are having, after this, and once we all recover from this work of beauty, we're going to send out the update, so keep an eye out for that. There's no testing this weekend, I don't think.
Yep.
But keep an eye out for the update. It'll have all the top 10-ish stuff we just read and more, and pretty art. We'll also be hosting another awesome builder in Cube, Swazi. We'll have a stream tomorrow evening. Are
we going to see Max on a stream tomorrow evening? Or?
Yes, thank you. I'll be a guest on the fan-made Unchained vodcast, talking about lore, which is what I do here. So, anyway, thank you all for watching, and thank you, Necromaniac, for this amazing gift. And we will see you later. All right, bye bye.